Dave, welcome.
Welcome, and thank you, Jody. Thank you for the big welcome. It's great to be with you all today. I wish we could actually be together, and please invite me back when we can be together in real life again, because that is going to happen sooner than it seems. Hey, let me share my screen. Is that coming over okay, Jody?
It is.
All right, great. I'll tell you what I'm going to do today. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pure Michigan, really how we got started, and how we've evolved over the years, how we had to make a big pivot during COVID, and how we are all going to have to pivot and make some more evolutionary changes as we move into the future. So let's get going right now, if I can get the screen to move. Hard to believe that Pure Michigan is 15 years old today. We started this campaign 15 years ago with a thought that at the time, we felt that people of Michigan had started to lose hope about who we were, started to lose faith that the state was moving forward. And we felt that if we were to properly demonstrate to people within the state and people all around the world that this is a special place, that we could help change that negative perception, which was starting to be really pervasive. You might remember those very difficult times. So Pure Michigan was born with this thought that we are very blessed to live in this very special place, and that we should at least spend some of our time in this place because we only have so much time. So here was the very first ad that we ran 15 years ago.
25,000 mornings, give or take, is all we humans get. We spend them on treadmills, we spend them in traffic, and if we get lucky, really lucky, it dawns on us to go spend them in a world where a simple sunrise can still be magic. 25,000 mornings. Make sure some of them are Pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
So that was the first way we tried to get across this message, that literally we only have so much time. So why not put that time to good use? And why not live our lives with purpose and with passion, and spend some of that time here for leisure? Maybe look at Michigan as a place for investment, as a place for education, as a place to live, work, and play. And I can tell you, over 15 years, I think we've been pretty successful in sharing that thought. Over these years, we've met various challenges with the economy, et cetera. Nobody could have imagined what we've dealt with this last year and are continuing to deal with. But the point is that this state has dealt with challenges in the past. We will deal with other challenges in the future. So we'll always have that next bridge to cross together. And during COVID, we tried to use the brand to deal with this latest very big bridge that we had to cross together, because we didn't just have a health crisis we were dealing with. We were dealing with these, crazy political challenges that we still are dealing with today. We were kind of using the brand in a different way. We wanted to remind people that, sure, we have different perspectives on life. We may be a people of two peninsulas, but after all, we are one Pure Michigan. And if we act this way, if we act in consort, if we collaborate and think about other people before ourselves, we'd be able to get through these big challenges. So even without a budget this last year, we worked with our media partners around the state. We put some billboards together, we put some radio and TV together, and we were able to tell this story of the importance of collaboration and working together. And of course, with no budget, we couldn't put any new production together, but we did use some old radio ads and pieced them together. And then we used some staff and some very grassrooty type look of advertising. So we put this TV ad I want to show you together, and then we gave it to the TV stations and said, listen, we have no money, but can you consider sharing this? We think it'll help bring people together and provide a sense of hope. So here's that ad.
Some places make us feel like we instantly belong, where the first thing we feel is the calm. We just feel at ease. And the only rule is to just make it up as we go along. Exploring world-class shipwrecks, We're pulling up a chair at the local restaurant to share our stories. So let's go to the place that invites us to make it our own. Our place in Pure, Michigan.
So it's hard to believe that was an ad that was the radio ad was produced with Tim long ago and just happened to tell the right story. And of course, now we continue to deal with the challenges that especially small business is dealing with right now and the health challenges. Even though things are opening up, we feel better. We know we have new challenges to deal with, including this lack of workers. And we need to get policies that make sense to encourage people to come back to work, to make them feel safe, to make them feel welcome. We also need to make sure to communicate to travelers, to everyone, that this kind of expectation of getting back to normal is going to take a while to get back to normal, because even as we open up, it's going to take a while before we all can experience what we've come to expect, this really great hospitality that Michigan has to offer. Because simply, if you don't have enough people, you can't operate fully, and we're going to be there for a while. Businesses are dealing with all these inflating costs. I don't have to tell you this, cost of products and services. We used to call that inflation, and we're dealing with it now. We're going to be continuing to deal with it over the next months to come. Let's hope we can get a hold of that through policy and through the natural economy working its way through. As we move forward, we'll continue to have meeting opportunities like this, where we're going to have some virtual opportunities. In fact, convention centers and hotels and conference facilities, which offer a hybrid virtual and live meeting approach, are going to be successful in the future. And for the travel industry, we're going to continue to deal with competition from destination marketers as we have in the past. And we're going to deal with new challenges, because a lot of our competition has received money from the CARES Act. And that means they have new money from the federal level, which they're going to be able to use to market against us. So it's going to be important for us to have a strong Pure Michigan effort. We need it now more than ever. As difficult as this has been in this last year and a half, we're going to continue to deal with challenges, and in some ways, even bigger challenges moving forward. So we're going to need to have this coordinated approach at the local, regional, and statewide level to market together. We're going to need to continue to lean on our parent organization, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, other organizations, to continue to work on our communities. We call it product development. Make sure that the communities are offering places where people do want to visit, do want to live, do want to move their businesses, do want to continue to come back to play as well. And we need a coordinated approach for advocacy at all levels, at least where it comes to making sure that policymakers understand the value of the travel and tourism industry. If you look at 2019, for instance, travel and tourism brought in $26.3 billion to the state. Now, these are dollars that would have not happened without the travel and tourism industry and bringing people in to travel. We have restaurants. They would have still been there serving the local community. But how long would they have been there? Because without the traveler, most of our retail restaurant type businesses would not be able to survive on their own. We bring in almost $3 billion. We did this in 2019 in local and state tax revenue. And the industry accounts for more than 230,000 jobs in the state, again, just because of the expenditures from travelers. I wanted to show you a couple of ads that we started to run to give you an idea, and we're running out of time. So I'm going to just show you a quick, this is the winter ad that we ran this past winter, right around $1 million budget. Oh, let me try this again, see if we can get it to work. This was our first approach for the year to remind people that, yes, we've had these challenges. We've been dealt a heavy blow, but after everything, we are still the Pure Michigan that people have come to know and expect. We are still Pure Michigan moving forward as well. So the spring summer campaign has launched, started in March, about a $9 million budget, goes to the 4th of July, actually, with TV, radio, outdoor, digital, social. We have some partnerships with some online travel operators, working with Pandora as well on a road trip playlist. You'll see us and hear us in the media a lot, and we're actually working with Kingsford as well. So here is the summer campaign ad, which just started.
Let's catch up. Not online or over text. Let's catch up in a place where time isn't measured in minutes, but in moments. Moments made paddling the day away on a crystal blue waterway. Or just sitting around a campfire beneath a canopy of twinkling stars. It's time to make up for lost time. This summer, let's catch up with Pure Michigan.
The intent here again is to remind people we are still Pure Michigan, and that if we all get our vaccinations, if we move forward, think about those protocols, even as it seems to be opening up, we will not go backwards. So that's the idea. One fun thing, we're using a different type of billboard technology, which allows kind of some movement, and you can only do that in certain places. This is an example actually of how it's being used in Minneapolis, trying to get some of those folks, maybe get their minds off of the challenges of the community and to get them to travel to Michigan. You'll see some fun bus wraps in Chicago on electric buses as well, working with Facebook, Instagram, continues on. And I think we have time to show you one, or have you listen to one radio ad. Kind of feel free to close your eyes and listen to Tim Allen as we talk about the soundtrack of summer.
There's a song we haven't heard in far too long, an oldie but a goodie. Take a listen. It's time to listen to a song called Summer, and it's playing in Pure Michigan.
I'm an old radio guy, so I love that ad because it does kind of bring back these thoughts of childhood and what we just really love about travel. I've been traveling around the state with the Under the Radar guys from the PBS TV show. We're going to continue to tell people how they should check out new places around the state as the summer goes on. And we need to stay focused on important issues besides COVID, like accessibility, making sure that our state is the most accessible state for persons with disabilities. We need to continue to work on DEI efforts to make sure everyone knows they're welcome here. And actually, I'm hoping to encourage people to go to places where people look different, sound different, act different than them, and really feel emotionally that they understand that, yeah, we may look different, but we're all the same. We all want a better life for our kids and our grandkids. Lesser important, but still interesting and important for travelers who want to travel with their pets. We need to encourage that. International travel and cruise travel will begin again soon. We want to be prepared for that. Big cities are going to be slowest to rebound, but we'll do all we can to help them. And we need to promote the fact that we are an arts-friendly state, because people will travel for art, and we are in a deficit there. People don't see us as an art-friendly state. So just some thoughts there. Be happy to answer any questions later on in the program, and appreciate the time. Thank you, Jody.
Fantastic, Dave. Thank you for that insight. We're ready now to turn things over to Pete and hear things from a more local perspective. Pete.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Egan's going to pull up our slides here a second. I just have 3 or 4 slides. What I thought I would do is let Dave, take us through where the state's at and what they've got going on. And every time I see Dave's work and Tim Allen's voice, I'm like, man, I got to book a trip. We got to get it. We got to get out. So locally, I figured what I would do today is talk about how the pandemic has affected more the Holland market specifically. It's a little hard to get exact data, but we have some industry information that we can pull together. And so I'm going to run through a little bit of that with you this morning here. So Keegan, if you go to the next slide. we'll look at occupancy. The Holland CVB reports out to the member hotels on its occupancy. So what we're looking at here is 2019 is the top line, the blue line, and then you have 2020 in the red, which depicts kind of the where we went last year, and then yellow and is the 2021. Now I need to start off with saying that April and May 2020 data are estimates based upon our forecasting internally, but our revenue management team is usually within a couple of points, so I'm pretty confident where those numbers landed as we look at where we've come in the last couple of months as we look at tulip time and the wrap up of Hope and everything for their year. So occupancy was a little soft in 2019, more so towards the end of it, but it is a very normal picture for the Holland market. Normal markets like a Grand Rapids or Lansing will have peaks and valleys for high demand periods, but it won't be that really big kind of shoot up that you see in the summer markets or in the summer months in the Holland market because of the lake. So the red, what we're looking at here is we look at 2020, you'll see that occupancies were a little soft compared to 19 as we started off 2020. That really in Holland was in response to all the new supply in the market with the new hotels that had opened up at the end of 19. The other thing too to know is the reason why it doesn't fall faster into March is the first 2 weeks or so of March was actually pretty fantastic occupancy wise across the market. So that really, as we move this line month by month down, March didn't really fall as fast because it was mid-month when it really fell off and we hit the cliff. So as you see in April there, we were down to around 18% occupancy as a market, May rate at 20%, and then slowly started climbing out into the summer months. Now, mind you, April, May, June, and even into July, we had some pretty aggressive restrictions on travel and dining in West Michigan. Now, the northern markets like Manistee County and North, for instance, Manistee County only saw an 8% occupancy decrease year over year because of they were in that northern quadrant of the state and had less restrictions. So, so if we'll go to the next slide, we can look at some rates. So what we did here really quick is we normalized 2019. Say as somebody in the industry, as we look at the hotels around the Holland area, our goal would be to get back to 2019. And so this really depicts where we went. Again, the blue line's 2019, we normalized that. The red line is the average daily rate or ADR, and you can see how that falls off. Now, typically in a situation like we dealt with last year, you will see that to be very common where occupancy will fall and then the individual hotel owners and operators will react with price. Now, the one thing about our industry, unlike a lot of others, price does not create demand. So example, Meijer runs $1 a gallon of milk sale. Everybody walks out of there with $150 worth of groceries. If in the hotel industry, if you're market appropriately priced, then a $10 swing in your rate would have to net you out 13% occupancy gains to be able to offset that loss of revenue. So obviously in a situation like COVID, there's very little demand. And so you see that reflected in the rates there. Again, looking at April and May, with not a lot of corporate travel, the corporate rates came back pretty good. So, or the leisure rates, I mean, came back pretty good and held us up there. So again, those are assumptions on our part at this point, but we're pretty confident where they're at. If we go to the next slide, Keegan, thank you. What this is this is what we call RevPAR. So it's you take all the revenue you did for a day or a period and divide it by the number of rooms available. what we're looking at here is RevPAR again in the blue line from 2019 for the Holland market, and then 2020. And the big delta, the big impact that our industry felt was the difference between the blue line and the red line. In overall, as an industry, we're down well over 50% year over year. Most properties in most markets, 65, even 70% impact. So this year we're trending back up. We're projecting that we're going to end up around we're going to end up down around 20 to 25% in the Holland market, probably 30 to 35% in the Grand Rapids and other markets that are more corporate based. So, my notes here really quick to make sure I didn't miss anything for you. Keegan, let's jump to the next slide. Now, quickly, you gotta talk about how do we get back to normal as an industry, so we can jump into some questions here with Dave. You know, first off, for us, it's confidence from our team members and our guests. Our guests need to be confident in the fact that they're safe with us, as well as our team members, that they're safe, that everything's clean, and that we've got their best interest in mind. And really, that's no different than it was pre-COVID. If you didn't feel safe in a restaurant or in a hotel, you wouldn't stay there. So that's the number one challenge. Staffing, of course, is on everybody's mind. You know, I saw a number just yesterday. I think it was 280,000 Michigan residents are still unemployed. We've got to incentivize everybody to get back to work. That's really the challenge right now. A lot of hotels are actually pricing themselves with 2-night minimum length of stays, to the fact that they're trying to extend your stay so they don't have to turn the room as often. And we're trying to avoid having to force people into a 2-night minimum length of stays, but I mean, everything's on the table right now. Myself, my family after church, along with a lot of our leadership team, we're in there helping strip rooms and clean rooms right now, because housekeeping and alike are really hard to find right now. So, and then getting back to normal again, meetings and events. This, although a small piece of the hospitality business overall, it is our thought that the more we can bring people together and encourage that, the quicker we'll get back to a normal. And then re-engaging corporate travel. So corporate travel is the bread and butter of our industry. There is a lot of opportunity for corporate travel as we sit here today to re-engage travel. I know corporate travel departments are a little, what do you say, reluctant to probably send their people, I guess we'll call it, into harm's way. But at the end of the day, corporate travel is an opportunity right now, I think, for everybody that's listening to this presentation. If you think about it, if you're not out there calling on your customer, then who is? And put the shoe on the other foot a second, maybe there's an opportunity for everybody listening to this to get out there and start knocking on doors to try to win customers over as well. So re-engaging corporate travel and seeing this as an opportunity for our local industry and local businesses, I think is key. So that's a really quick run through of what I have. I think we'll jump into the Q&A now. Oh, Jody, you're muted.
Thanks, Pete. We are absolutely data junkies over here at the chamber, and so I loved seeing all the graphs. I'm curious if there are any leading indicators that you look at that are a little more predictive to indicate what you see in the return to travel.
Our all of the brands have rate and inventory kind of predictive software. It really was modeled after the airline industry. And right now, the brands are working with their algorithms to try to really home in on how to normalize and how to really make sense of what happened, because it really has messed up their algorithms for prediction forward for an individual property. from a national level, a lot of the information we get is from CBRE and Price Waterhouse, as everybody else does. And, you know, we're hearing that normal is probably 2 years off yet, maybe 2.5 years off. But a lot of that's going to depend on too, how does the restrictions open or close us, and how do we really emerge from COVID? So, Dave, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just, you know, advanced bookings is what Peter and you know, mostly the hoteliers look at, and they track that from year to year, so they know what to expect. And I can tell you that in many of our communities, advanced bookings are looking pretty darn good, even though people are kind of prepared to kind of bump them back if they don't feel comfortable to travel, and the industry's, you know, prepared to allow that to happen in an accommodating fashion. We also look at things like sports venue bookings, meetings schedules, as Peter mentioned, even things like weddings, which is big business for the industry. And if people just kind of keep on backing that up, you know, we lose that business forever for the time being. It's kind of like, you know, a gallon of milk. If you leave it in there forever, it's no good after a while. It's kind of the same way here, is that it's a product you can never sell again if you didn't sell it yesterday. So this is the challenge for hoteliers and restaurateurs and others.
Our product is perishable. It expires every day.
That's a unique perspective that I hadn't thought of before, but absolutely true. I'd love to dig a little bit more into the corporate travel piece as well, as we have many business owners and participants on this call. What are some of the themes and trends that you're seeing in corporate? Are you seeing that uptick, and what does that look like going forward?
I can start this, Pete. So we know that corporations are still hesitant to send their people out there. I was on a USTA, a travel association board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and one of the big company executives who was talking to our group said they think that it's going to continue for liability reasons and such for a while, until they lose a big sale. Because, you know, we all know the value of being together. It's not just about the meeting you're attending. It's about that coffee break you have together. It's about the entertainment activity that you do together at night. It's this networking that businesses are going to miss, and you can only do so much networking this way.
And I would say, from our standpoint too, with corporate travel, we're starting to see it re-engage, albeit very slowly. You know, if you go back, you know, October, November, we would have a couple of corporate rooms sold, and with all of the youth sports, as David spoken to earlier, shut down as well, it made for a really, really tough fall and winter. Now we're getting back to, you know, we'll have a half dozen companies or a dozen companies staying within the properties in 1 or 2 rooms from each organization, not necessarily the larger group, the 12-person travel, you know, class, but we're starting to see a bigger breadth of companies traveling, and so that's encouraging that they're seeing the need to get out and start moving around too.
Yeah, you know, it's also interesting to note that Grand Rapids has probably been hit harder in this sector than even Detroit. Pretty unusual, because in most cases, your biggest cities are the ones who get the biggest bang from meetings, conferences, conventions. That is still the case, but the difference is that Detroit has become known for all of the other leisure activities which are available to them. And Grand Rapids is more event-based. So most people go to Grand Rapids for, you know, some event, even though, you know, yeah, they've been getting to be known for Beer City USA and their great cultural attractions and such. They just don't simply have as many of those to offer as a city like Detroit. So people are still going to Detroit for the gaming, the sports to some degree, the architecture, you know, the various things that they like to do in Detroit, even as conferences, conventions are late to come back.
You talked about some of the impact from corporate travel being as a result of people not wanting to put their employees in a perceived harm's way. So what do you do to reassure those travelers and those corporations that you're going to provide a safe experience for their travelers?
Yeah, I think speaking specifically for our properties in the three major franchisors that we work with, which is IHG, Hilton, and Marriott, they got out ahead of it early on with their protocols. And although all three of them have a very different approach to safety and cleanliness in the rooms, they all accomplish the same thing by reassuring their traveler that, you know what, our hotels are safe and we are ready to serve you. Whether it's the electrostatic sprayer at Marriott or Hilton's partnership with Lysol and how they put literally a sticker on the room to show you that nobody's been in that room since housekeeping. So, you know, travel is safe. We are going above and beyond and spending almost crazy amounts of money to ensure the confidence in not only that the traveler is confident, but also our team members are confident that, you know, where they're working is safe for them to work.
Now, we developed what we call the Pure Michigan Pledge early on in the pandemic. And what that meant is we met with more than 400 volunteers from the travel industry. We had several committees working on the various safety protocols that would be necessary depending on whether you're indoor, outdoor, the different types of things that people might want to do, and put all these protocols together. It was an unbelievable exercise of people giving of their time and of their expertise. Once that was developed, we started to promote the fact that you can travel safely if you do these things. And we're still encouraging people to go to michigan.org. The very top of the page, it says travel safely in Michigan. Click on that. And if you scroll down, you'll see the Pure Michigan Pledge. Please consider signing up for that, because it's one way that you can say to everybody, your workers, your visitors, your community, that you're taking the safety protocol seriously. It's going to take that for us to demonstrate the fact that we're all taking this seriously, even as we're almost there, right? But we're not there yet. So if we continue this, people will feel comfortable to travel. They will get there, and they'll spend some time and some money in your community.
Dave, you and your team have done a remarkable job with promoting Michigan with those Pure Michigan ads. I love seeing those when I'm somewhere outside of the state. How has your marketing changed in terms of target? Has that circle shrunk? And what does that look like going forward?
Well, mostly because of a reduced budget, we've had to kind of shrink our message. But frankly, we would have already done that to some degree. You know, we had a $36 million budget in 2018, a $35 million in 2019, zero in 20, because we got stuck between the legislature and the governor over road funding. Nothing to do with us, but we just got stuck in the middle. And this year we're dealing with a $15 million budget. We're thankful for it, but it's nowhere near what we need to combat against competition and to get out the word that you can travel safely. So we'll see where it goes. But our major changes have been to lean more into the fact that you can travel safely, mentioning that, getting out to the media in every way we can to spread that message, and the fact that we're only marketing in Michigan and the regional states. We don't have a national campaign right now. And since international travel is virtually non-existent right now, we've just recently started our efforts in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, the UK, Ireland. We've had to drop our China efforts for obvious reason. We've had to drop our Canada efforts because I'm hearing the border may not even be open until next February because the Canadian government, which is mind-boggling, isn't it? So we've just adjusted, and we'll continue to adjust as opportunities come before us.
Yeah, I look at what Dave's doing too is the same comment I made about corporate travel earlier. You know, our neighboring states right now are doubling down on our own residents to travel to their state. And so Pure Michigan funding is absolutely imperative, just from supporting the industry, supporting the state. And, you know, it's a lot bigger than a hotel stay. It's restaurants, it's gas stations, it's convenience stores, it's on and on, and all the little shops and stuff like that. So the reach is huge. That Dave's effect is positive across the state.
Absolutely. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our local Visitors Bureau here as well. They do a phenomenal job, Linda and the team at our Holland CVB of bringing people in locally. And Tulip Time recently was a great indication of that as well. It was great to see people back in our community. One thing that I've noticed through the pandemic is, there's been so much change, but not all of the change has been bad. In some ways, it's forced us to make some changes in what we do and how we do it that will outlast this pandemic, because they are really things that are better in the long run. What are you seeing in the travel industry that will be different going forward, but good improvements that we can expect for the long term?
That's a good point, actually, because people have, I think to some degree, relearned how to think about other people over themselves right away. I think over time, maybe you kind of forget that. And this has forced us to think in this way again, which I think is very positive. I was thinking, as Pete was talking about getting out of church, that I look at that my church, which has now gone to a hybrid format where we're attending in person with masks on right now, but people can view online. And I think we've doubled attendance, so to speak. You're going to see that with meetings, conferences, conventions going forward, where people who maybe want to be part of that meeting, who can't be there for a variety of reasons, they're going to be attending virtually while people are there in live presence as well. So I think some of that will lead to new technology to allow for more engagement, while still, there's this great understanding of the real value of, tactile connections. So I think we'll see things like this.
Pete, I appreciate the fact that you and your team are digging in, and being a hands-on approach to solving that issue. Do you have a long-term plan for how you're going to staff up the organization in an area of the state that has historically low unemployment?
Yeah, it is a battle that our team has been fighting for a number of years, as well as everybody else on this call. Whether you're in hospitality or manufacturing, unemployment in Holland it's a blessing and a curse that it's always kind of leading on the low end, which is where we like to be in Holland, is leading in good ways. It's funny, that is the topic of every leadership team meeting across our company. We've got a lot of things in the work to try to attract and retain team members. We've called or attempted to call everybody back that may have gotten laid off more than once. And a lot of, I think, what our messaging is right now, to not spill our secret sauce that we're rolling out, is that we're safe and that this industry has a future for you. There's a lot of people that still have some scars left from the what's happened over the last year, where they've gotten laid off, they've gotten recalled, they've gotten laid off, they've gotten recalled. We as an industry-wide, it's not just Suburban Inns specific, have to really get out and say that we need you, that this is still a fun place to work. It is not a mundane task, and that hospitality is here to stay. So it is a big message. There's been a lot of people that have been negatively affected by it. And again, we're up to the challenge, but we know it's a challenge.
So we call this series of webinars In the Know. So I'm going to ask Pete on a specific one pointed at you, see if we can get a sneak peek behind the curtain. I'm curious if there are any plans for your Big E's space here locally. I personally missed that. I was a regular at Big E's. So are there any plans to reopen, and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have 4 Big E's locations. Right now, 3 of the 4 are closed. Midland is open. Midland's actually doing really well right now. They are ahead of their 2019 numbers. Now, 2 of the other local favorite spots in town have permanently closed over there. So that's been good for us. To be honest with you, over here, our biggest issue is we cannot staff the hotels to prepare for this summer. And that's been our focus, when we got shut down. I mean, to be very candid, and anybody that's in the restaurant business that's on this call is familiar with it. I've never laid off a person in my career until we were forced to do it this past about a year ago, a little over a year. Yeah, about a year ago. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, let alone the fact that then we're giving all of our perishable food to our team as they're heading out the door. So we're like, we're gonna have to throw this away. And it got to the point where the shelters didn't even want it because they're like, we already have too much. And that happened repeatedly. And that's, an impact both from a psyche and everything else that you'll just never get back. For us, it's, the 80-20 rule. Food and beverage is less than 20% of our total revenue. Rooms are over 80% of our total revenue. So we kept chasing our tail on the restaurant side of things. And we're like, we're screwing with people's lives. We just need to push pause. Let's get through this. We need to be at 100% capacity for it to make sense for us to operate a restaurant, where we can run our restaurant our way and really put the effort behind it. So our focus today is staff the hotels, get them ready for summer, and then we'll re-engage this summer, this fall, this winter. It'll open. I don't know when, but we've got to be able to staff them and staff them. So I don't have people standing at the host stand going, well, you got 50 empty tables. Why are you not seating them? Well, I don't have a server to wait on you, and that is a common problem across everything. I looked this morning and we have around 40 different jobs open on our job board on our website right now, which is updated daily, which represents over 100 opportunities within our organization right now. And that's without biggies even in the mix. So
Wow.
To say there's opportunity in hospitality is an understatement. Anybody can go to suburbans.com/careers and have your son or daughter apply, or if you're looking for something a little different, feel free to sign up.
Yeah, great plug. We'll look forward to that time when we're able to gather together again at Big E's here locally. We're coming up against the end of our time together, and I guess I want to end on a positive note. So look, Jessica's sharing the address in the chat if anybody is looking for the link to get that, to get those job openings. So
my VP of HR at work.
Yeah. To end our time together on a positive note, I guess as you look ahead into the future, what has you excited about travel and tourism?
Dave, do you want to start? Because I know you got a hard stop. Or I can. Hope you're.
Oops, I do. Yeah, just the fact that Peter talked about, the opportunities are endless. And I hope that through this experience, people understand that travel and tourism is a tremendous gateway into greater career path opportunities within travel and tourism or in other areas. We know that the vast majority of people who are considered super successful started out in this industry. I myself, not super successful, but I started out as a dishwasher at a family-owned restaurant, and now I'm state travel director. So I'm excited about that. I know that working together, we will be able to move forward, and we're going to get through this thing together. And with that, I need to go. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, Dave. Pete, anything to add?
I think I'll follow Dave on that one. Our industry is an industry of, education helps, but, grit, determination, and being willing to learn the role, learn the industry provides endless opportunity. And, I myself, I'm 3 credits shy of an associate's degree in hospitality management. And I'm leading the family business, but that's one of those things that, my dad never gave anybody an opportunity unless they earned it. And there's not a job within our organization that I haven't done. And that is, it speaks volumes to everybody within our organization. Bill Lucas, when he came to us, he's our VP of Hotel Ops. He was running banquets for us and an assistant manager at Big E's in Midland. And everybody has worked their way up the chain, and I just think our industry is an industry of opportunity. And by working in the industry, you're afforded a lot of really cool opportunities too. Travel discounts around the world through our franchise partners. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on in hospitality, and give us a look. So I know we're up against the time,
Fantastic.
so I'll yield to Jody to wrap this up.
Perfect. Well, Peter, thank you. You've given us a lot to think about, gave great insight into what you're experiencing here locally, but even better, look into the future and with some optimism of what we can expect. Thanks for the great places that you've created here locally in our community and driving those tourist dollars here into our community. And with that, I'll say thank you for joining us today and make it a great day. Thanks, everybody.